Your heart races right before you have to speak in a meeting. You scroll and feel that familiar knot of not measuring up. That shaky, uncertain feeling is a modern epidemic, but the cure is 2,000 years old. The ancient philosophy of Stoicism offers a radical alternative, a way to replace that inner turbulence with rock-solid certainty. By the end of this, you will have a complete mental toolkit of 25 Stoic quotes, each one a lever to pry loose insecurity and build unshakable confidence. This is not abstract theory. This is a practical operating system for your mind, ready to use today. What does it truly mean to have power over your own thoughts? And how can a simple shift in perspective disarm your deepest doubts? That shaky feeling begins to dissolve the moment you draw a single line in your mind. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, gave us the master key with a simple statement. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This is the bedrock of Stoic certainty, the dichotomy of control. Your entire world is divided into two categories. On one side, everything outside your direct command, the opinions of others, the stock market, the weather, whether a specific person likes you, even the final outcome of your most important project. On the other side, a much smaller but infinitely more powerful domain, your own judgments, your chosen actions, your personal responses. Insecurity is almost always a tax you pay for worrying about the first category, the things you cannot control. You feel uncertain because you are trying to command the wind. Certainty is not about guaranteeing external results. That is an impossible task that will always leave you anxious. Certainty is the ironclad knowledge that no matter what happens out there, you have absolute sovereignty over what happens in here in your own mind. Let us make this practical. You have a big job interview tomorrow. The classic source of insecurity is obsessing over the outcome. Will they like me? Will I get the offer? What if someone more qualified applies? That is all outside your control. The Stoic shift is immediate and profound. Your certainty comes from redirecting all your energy to your own domain. You can control preparing thoroughly, researching the company, practicing your answers, choosing your attire, getting a good night's sleep, and walking into that room with confidence and integrity. You focus on presenting your best self, your honest effort. The offer itself belongs to the external world. This realization is not a limitation, it is a liberation. It frees up a massive amount of mental energy previously wasted on futile worry. Your strength, your certainty, is now anchored in the one place it can never be taken from you, your own purposeful action. This is where the real magic happens, the precise moment you can intercept insecurity before it takes root. The great teacher Epictetus, born a slave, unlocked a profound truth that flips the entire script on our anxieties. He said, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. Think about the weight of that statement. The event itself is neutral. The story you tell yourself about the event is what creates the storm. Your insecurity is not caused by the critical comment, the missed promotion, or the social snub. It is manufactured entirely by your interpretation, by the meaning you attach to it. A harsh word from a colleague is just a vibration of air, a set of sounds. It carries no inherent power to wound you. The wound appears only when your mind rushes in with a story, a belief. You might think, this proves I am incompetent, or everyone must think I am a fraud. That story, that view, is the source of all the distress. The Stoic move is to become a detective of your own thoughts. You learn to separate the raw fact from the loaded opinion you have glued to it. The fact is, your boss said the report needs more data. The insecure interpretation is, I am terrible at my job and they are going to fire me. The stoically certain interpretation is, this is feedback on one specific task. I can gather the additional data. One view sends you into a spiral of dread. The other view gives you a clear, calm action to take, restoring your certainty. Imagine that neutral event like a tree trunk. From it, two branches grow. The first branch is heavy with insecure leaves, each one a catastrophic assumption, a personal insult, a forecast of doom. The second branch is clean and strong, bearing only the simple, objective facts. Your power lies in consciously choosing which branch to water. When you feel that familiar pang of insecurity, pause. Ask yourself, what is the bare fact here, stripped of all my emotional storytelling? Then ask, is there another, more factual and less personal way to view this? Replacing "he ignored my text because I am unimportant" with "he is likely busy" or "he did not see it" is not naive optimism. It is a disciplined return to what you actually know for sure. This practice builds a firewall in your mind. External events lose their power to automatically dictate your inner state. You realize your certainty was never out there in the world's approval, waiting to be found. It was always in here, in your sovereign right to choose the view that serves you, the interpretation that leads not to distress but to clarity and action. That branch of catastrophic assumptions is where our minds love to wander, constructing elaborate futures that torment us in the present. The Roman Stoic Seneca put his finger directly on this source of needless suffering. He wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Insecurity is not a reaction to what is happening now. It is almost always a payment on a debt you may never owe. It is the mind's theater running a horror movie about a tomorrow that has not yet arrived and likely never will. You lie awake worrying about a difficult conversation scheduled for next week, rehearsing every possible insult, every humiliating rebuttal. You feel the heat of embarrassment, the tightness in your chest, as if the event is happening right now, but the calendar says it is still days away. That suffering is entirely manufactured, a phantom pain from a wound that does not exist. Stoic certainty dismantles this theater through a powerful, counterintuitive practice called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This is not about pessimistic doom scrolling or convincing yourself the worst will happen. It is a tactical mental drill, a vaccination for the mind. You calmly and deliberately imagine a specific challenge going wrong, not to scare yourself but to disarm the fear. You walk through the scenario in your mind's eye, and most importantly, you plan your response. By doing this, you rob the future event of its greatest weapon, the element of surprise and shock. Let us take the classic example of fearing public speaking. The insecure mind loops on the catastrophe. My mind will go blank, everyone will laugh, I will be exposed as a fraud. The Stoic practice is to sit down and intentionally walk into that feared scenario. Okay, you say to yourself, I am on stage and I genuinely forget my next point. The room is silent. Now what? Instead of panicking, you have already rehearsed your graceful recovery. You might take a slow sip of water, glance at your notes, smile, and say, let me gather my thoughts for a moment. This is an important point. Or you might smoothly transition to a different part of your talk. You have just transformed a paralyzing phantom into a manageable situation with a prepared exit route. The anxiety loses its fangs because you have already faced the monster in the safe space of your imagination and mapped out the terrain. You are no longer a passive victim of an unknown future. You are an active strategist. The certainty you build is not the certainty that nothing bad will ever happen. That is a fairy tale. The certainty is the unshakable knowledge that you have already considered the possibilities and you have a plan, you have resources, you have composure. When you premeditate the challenge, you are not inviting disaster. You are building a mental shelter so that if the storm does come, you are already inside, calm and ready, while everyone else is just hearing the first clap of thunder. That mental shelter is built on a foundation of time, a resource we consistently misplace. Marcus Aurelius offered a stark reminder that cuts through all hesitation. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. At first glance, this sounds dark, even morbid. But in the Stoic tradition, this is not a threat. It is the ultimate tool for clarity and urgency, known as memento mori, the remembrance of death. Insecurity is a luxury of imagined infinite time. It thrives in the fog of someday, in the delay of I will start when I feel ready, or I will speak up when I am sure no one will disagree. It feeds on the endless postponement of your own life, traded for the comfort of avoiding potential judgment or failure. The stoic remembrance of your finite time acts like a strong wind, blowing that fog away instantly. The certain knowledge that your time is limited, that it could literally end at any moment, forces a brutal and beautiful prioritization. It asks one simple, life-altering question. Is this thing I am worrying about, is this hesitation I am feeling worthy of my precious and irreplaceable time? If you knew your time was short, would you spend an hour dissecting a vague comment from a coworker? Would you scroll mindlessly, comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel? Would you stay silent in a meeting, withholding a good idea because you are afraid it might sound foolish? The answer becomes immediately clear. The remembrance of death does not invite despair, it ignites purpose. It transfers your certainty from the shaky ground of others' opinions to the solid rock of your own limited days. Your focus shifts from what they might think of me to what I must do with my life. The pettiness of social anxiety, the dread of rejection, the fear of not being good enough, these insecurities begin to look like what they truly are, distractions from the main event. They are clutter in the hallway when the house is on fire. The fire is your one wild and precious life, burning down moment by moment. This perspective does not make you reckless, it makes you intentional. It replaces the uncertain noise of trivial concerns with the certain, ringing call of what matters. You start that project you have been dreaming about, not someday, but today, because today is all you are guaranteed. You have the difficult conversation with kindness and honesty, because leaving things unsaid is a debt you may never get to repay. You choose to act with virtue, with courage and integrity right now, not when conditions are perfect. Because the only time you ever have to be the person you want to be is this very moment. The clock is not counting down to some distant end. It is ticking inside every single breath you take, asking you, is this breath spent on fear or is it spent on life? The breath you choose to spend on life meets the unyielding force of reality itself, and our instinct is to fight it, to argue with what is already true. This is where the Stoic teacher Epictetus delivers a command so counterintuitive it feels like a spiritual judo throw. He says, do not seek for everything to happen as you wish, but wish for everything to happen as it actually does, and your life will be serene. Read that again, wish for everything to happen as it actually does. This is the ultimate surrender to what is, and in that surrender lies an unbreakable certainty. Insecurity is almost always a form of quiet, frantic resistance. It is the internal scream that says, this should not be happening to me, this is unfair, the universe is conspiring against my plans. That resistance creates friction, a grinding tension between the world as it is and your desperate wish for it to be different. The moment you stop resisting, the friction vanishes. You are no longer fighting gravity, you are standing on the ground. Think of a sailor on the open sea. The insecure sailor curses the wind when it shifts against him. He wastes his energy and spirit raging against a force he can never command, growing more anxious and exhausted as his boat flounders. The certain sailor, the Stoic sailor, feels that same shift in the wind. He does not waste a single breath on complaint or wishful thinking. He immediately accepts the new reality. This is the wind I have. Then, with a calm mind, he asks the only productive question, given this wind, how do I adjust my sails to continue my journey? The wind is not personal, it is not good or bad, it simply is. Your serenity, your certainty, depends entirely on your response to it. In your own life, the wind might be a sudden job loss, a painful rejection, a global event that upends your industry, or even a simple rainy day that ruins your outdoor plans. The insecure response is to dwell in the resentment of the disrupted plan. The Stoic response is to acknowledge the rain, it is falling. Wishing it were sunny is a prayer to a God that does not exist. Acceptance is not passivity or defeat. It is the crucial first step of clear-eyed action. You accept the rain, so now you can pivot, you can move the picnic indoors, you can put on a coat and boots and find a new kind of beauty in the wet streets. Certainty is born in that pivot. It is the understanding that while you may not control the event, you absolutely control your navigation of it. Every event is simply a link in a chain of cause and effect. Your flat tire this morning is the result of a nail on the road, the wear on your tread, 1,000 factors that led to this exact moment. To stand there shouting, "Why me?" is to argue with physics and history. The certain person sees the flat tire, acknowledges the reality of the situation, and then moves immediately to the virtuous action, which is to change it. The serenity Epictetus promises is the quiet that follows when you stop arguing with reality. Your life is no longer a series of disappointments where things fail to meet your wishes. It becomes a dynamic partnership with the world as it unfolds. You meet each moment not with the weak hope that it conforms to your desires, but with the strong, calm readiness to engage with it exactly as it is. You trade the exhausting fight for a graceful, powerful dance. That graceful dance requires no audience and seeks no applause. The applause we do chase, however, often leads us into a silent prison of comparison. Seneca saw this trap with perfect clarity, observing, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Insecurity whispers a dangerous lie that your worth is a tally of external things, your job title, your bank balance, the car you drive, the number of likes on your last post. It ties your inner certainty to a ledger that is always outside your control, subject to market crashes, corporate restructures, and the shifting winds of social media trends. You feel poor not because you lack necessities, but because you are in a constant state of craving the next validation, the next upgrade, the next proof that you are enough. The poverty Seneca identifies is a poverty of spirit, an inner emptiness you try to fill with objects and accolades that can never truly fit the shape of the whole. This is why achieving a goal often brings a surprising emptiness, the promotion you fought for, the luxury item you saved for. For a moment, there is a spike of certainty, "I have arrived." But soon, the mind adjusts and the craving simply attaches itself to the next rung on the ladder, leaving you feeling poor all over again. The Stoic shift is brutal and liberating. It asks you to audit your sources of wealth. Real wealth is not an amount you possess, it is a state of mind you cultivate, the wealth of sufficiency. It is looking at what you have, from your health to your relationships to your capacity for gratitude, and recognizing it as enough. This does not mean abandoning ambition or living in austerity. It means divorcing your ambition from your self-worth. You can strive for a better position because you enjoy the craft and the challenge, not because you believe the title will finally make you a valid person. The certainty comes from knowing your value is intrinsic, built-in, and non-negotiable. It cannot be inflated by a bonus or deflated by a criticism. You are the source. This internal wealth leads directly to Seneca's next pivotal point. He declares he is most powerful who has power over himself. Think of the most outwardly powerful person you know, the CEO, the celebrity, the politician. Now imagine them alone in a room, besieged by their own anger, jealousy, anxiety, or craving. All their external power is useless against that internal storm. Their certainty is fragile, built on sand, because it depends on holding onto things that can be lost in an instant. Contrast that with the person who has mastered themselves. Their power is not over others, but over their own impulses, their reactions, their fears. This is the unshakable certainty. It is the power to feel the surge of anger and choose a calm response. It is the power to see a temptation and align with your long-term integrity. It is the power to receive devastating news and not be shattered by it because your core identity is not tied to that single event. Your security now lives in your character, not your resume. Your resume lists what you have done. Your character defines how you choose to act right now in any circumstance. One is a record of the past, the other is your active agency in the present. When your certainty is rooted in self-mastery, you carry your fortress with you. No market downturn can strip you of your discipline. No social slight can rob you of your compassion. No failed project can take away your resilience. You are no longer a leaf tossed by every external wind. You are the tree with roots sunk deep into your own practiced virtues. The lavish but anxious lifestyle on one side of the screen is a performance for an audience that is never satisfied. The simple life of purposeful action on the other side is a private symphony composed and conducted by you. The music is not in the grandeur of the hall, but in the certainty of the musician's hands. That private symphony plays against a backdrop of constant, inevitable change. Marcus Aurelius observed this fundamental truth, writing, "The universe is change, our life is what our thoughts make it." Insecurity is often just a fear of change disguised as a fear of failure. We crave a static world where we have everything figured out, where our position is secure and our routines are undisturbed. But the universe operates on a different principle, one of perpetual flux. The seasons turn, civilizations rise and fall, cells in your body are replaced, relationships evolve, careers transform. To seek certainty in a fixed outcome is to stand on a riverbank and demand the water stop flowing. The Stoic finds certainty not in stopping the river, but in learning to swim with its current. Your life is not defined by the changes themselves, but by the thoughts you choose to have about them. You can think of a sudden job loss as a catastrophe, a personal indictment, and feel utterly insecure. Or you can think of it as a forceful redirection, an invitation to a path you may not have chosen but can now navigate with courage. The change is neutral. The story you attach to it determines everything. When you align your thoughts with the reality of change, you stop resisting the tide. You become adaptable, resilient, certain not of a particular outcome, but of your own capacity to meet whatever comes. This adaptability is your superpower in an unpredictable world. This leads to a profound mental shift, the normalization of difficulty. Aurelius continues, "Everything that happens is as normal and expected as the spring rose or the summer fruit." We suffer from a strange amnesia. We act shocked and personally targeted when challenges arise, as if life promised us a smooth, obstacle-free journey. But thorns are part of the rose, storms are part of the summer. Difficulty is not an error in the system, it is the system. It is as natural as gravity. Seeing your current struggle, whether it is financial stress, a health scare, or a relational conflict, as something abnormal and unfair, fuels resentment and deepens insecurity. Seeing it as part of the expected, seasonal rhythm of a human life, like winter following autumn, injects a calm certainty. You are not being singled out, you are simply experiencing the universal curriculum. This is not a call to passive resignation, but to clear-eyed engagement. A farmer does not shake his fist at the sky when winter comes, he prepared for it during the fall. He expects it. Your challenges are your winter. The certainty comes from knowing this is the season you are in, and your job is to do the next right thing, to gather wood for the mental fire, to wait with patience for the spring that always inevitably follows. Your problem is not a monstrous aberration, it is simply today's weather in the climate of a full life. To truly internalize this, we need to pull the camera back, far back. Aurelius suggests a powerful exercise. Look at the stars and see how you run your little life. This is the view from above. Right now, your insecurity might feel like a vast, suffocating blanket covering your entire world. That critical email from your boss looms enormous. The social slight from yesterday echoes loudly. The worry about tomorrow's presentation tightens your chest. Now, in your mind, zoom out. See your city from a plane, then your continent from space, then the blue marble of Earth hanging in the black vastness, a tiny speck orbiting a mediocre star in the outskirts of an average galaxy, one of billions. From that cosmic vantage point, where is that email? Where is that social slight? They vanish. They are subatomic fluctuations in an unimaginably grand tapestry. This exercise is not meant to make your life seem meaningless, but to restore proportion. It shrinks your anxieties down to their true, manageable size. The certainty it brings is the certainty of scale. That thing you are ruminating on for the third hour, would it even register on a cosmic timeline? Likely not. This grand perspective does not dismiss your human experience, it frames it. It allows you to hold your concern in your hand, examine it, and then, with a calm breath, decide how much of your one precious, starlit life it truly deserves to consume. Your life is both insignificant in the cosmos and utterly significant to you. The magic is in holding both truths at once. The first truth grants you calm, the second grants you purpose. Together, they forge a certainty that is both humble and unshakable, aware of its small place in the universe, yet fully committed to playing its part with excellence and grace. That cosmic perspective brings everything back to a single, practical choice. Every moment of uncertainty is a fork in the road, and the Stoics gave us a map. Epictetus laid it out with surgical precision. The chief task in life is simply this, to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control. This is not just a quote, it is the ultimate insecure thought filter, a mental algorithm you can run in real time. Your feelings are not facts, they are data. And this is the system for processing that data. When that familiar wave of insecurity hits, whether it is jealousy, social anxiety, or professional dread, you do not have to drown in it. You pause, you take that swirling, messy feeling and you run it through the filter. Step 1, identify. What specifically am I reacting to? Is it the frown on my manager's face after my presentation? Is it seeing an old friend's lavish vacation photos? Is it the fear that my creative work will be ridiculed? Get it out of the vague emotional cloud and into a specific sentence. Step 2, separate. This is the crucial cut. Does this thing, this trigger, fall into the category of externals not under my control? The manager's facial expression is an external. It is their opinion, their mood, their biology. You cannot control the muscles in another person's face. The vacation photos are an external. They are an event in someone else's life, a display of their choices. The potential ridicule is an external. It lives in the minds of other people. If the answer is yes, you label it clearly, not under my control. You say it to yourself out loud if you need to. This worry is about something outside my command. And then, step 3, you consciously release the mental grip on it. You do not feed it with more story. You do not argue with it. You simply acknowledge its category and let it pass by like weather. This is not suppression, it is wise discernment. You are redirecting your finite energy away from a black hole and towards something useful. Now you move to the second part of the filter. What does have to do with the choices I actually control? This is where your power lies. You cannot control the manager's frown, but you can control reviewing your presentation to see if your message was clear. You can control asking for specific feedback at the next check-in. You cannot control the vacation photos, but you can control logging off social media and planning a meaningful, affordable experience for yourself this weekend. You cannot control potential ridicule, but you can control finishing your project to the best of your ability and sharing it with a few trusted people first. Every single time you run a worried thought through this filter, you are doing a rep for the muscle of mental certainty. At first, it feels clumsy, like learning a new language. But with practice, it becomes automatic. The filter starts running in the background of your mind, sorting incoming data before it can hijack your nervous system. You begin to experience a profound shift. the noisy, chaotic world of externals starts to look like what it is, a storm happening outside your window. And you realize you have been sitting calmly inside all along, mistaking the sound of the rain for a command to panic. The certainty you build is the quiet knowledge of where your true agency begins and ends. Your inner peace is no longer hostage to 10,000 things you were never meant to govern. The storm outside your window is not an enemy, it is the path. Seneca crystallized this radical reframe into one of the most powerful Stoic statements ever made. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Read that slowly. The obstacle is not a blockade on your road, it is the road itself. Insecurity interprets every setback as a stop sign, a flashing red light confirming your deepest fear. You are not good enough, you should turn back. Stoic certainty performs a kind of alchemy, transforming that same obstacle into fuel, into direction, into the very substance of your progress. A rejection letter is not proof of your inadequacy. It is raw data, a chisel that can sculpt a better application, a clearer message, or a more suitable target. A failed product launch is not a tombstone for your dream. It is a brutal but honest focus group, revealing the exact features the market actually wants. The obstacle presents the question, and your creative response to it writes the answer. History is a gallery of this principle. The Roman general who could not break through a fortified gate did not retreat in shame. He saw the gate, the impediment, and realized it was the way. He ordered his engineers to build a ramp over it. The gate's very strength, its immovability, dictated the ingenious solution. In modern times, consider an athlete who suffers a devastating knee injury. The insecure narrative screams, "My career is over." The Stoic athlete, while acknowledging the pain and the setback, asks a different question. This injury stands in my way. How does it become the way? It might force a season on the sidelines, which becomes an unparalleled opportunity to study game film with the depth of a coach, to strengthen the mind, to understand strategy in a way pure physical play never allowed. That athlete often returns not just healed, but smarter, more complete, the obstacle having forged a new kind of strength. Your own life offers these turning points constantly, just on a quieter scale. You are passed over for a promotion. The insecure story is a verdict. You are not valued here, you should feel ashamed. The Stoic story begins with the raw fact, you did not get this particular role. Now, how does this impediment become the way? It might be the forceful push you needed to update your resume and look outward, where you find a role that fits you perfectly. It might reveal a skill gap you can now consciously address. It might even clear the emotional space to start that side project you have been dreaming about. The obstacle did not halt your action, it advanced it by forcing a pivot you would not have chosen, but that leads to a better destination. The certainty here is not a naive belief that everything happens for a reason. It is the active, muscular conviction that you can find or create a reason within anything that happens. The rock in your path is not there to trip you. It is there to be stepped upon, to give you a higher vantage point. You look at it and think, this is not in my way, this is the way through. What do you see now that you could not see from the lower ground? That higher ground is not a physical place, but a fortress you build within. Marcus Aurelius described it perfectly. Nowhere can a person find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. This is the Stoic concept of the inner citadel, your own personal, unconquerable fortress of the mind. Insecurity is the shouting mob, the battering ram, the storm raging outside the walls. It is all the external noise, the opinions, the comparisons, the fears of what might happen. Certainty is the profound silence and order within the central courtyard. It is the space where you can hear your own thoughts clearly, where logic reigns, and your core virtues remain untouched by the chaos. The key is understanding that the fortress is not a place you find, it is a place you build brick by brick through daily practice. Its walls are made of your examined judgments, Its foundation is your commitment to virtue over validation, and its gate is under your sole control. You decide what gets let in and what must remain outside. So how do you actually construct this inner citadel? It begins with small, deliberate acts of mental architecture. The first exercise is daily meditation, not necessarily in a spiritual sense, but as a training in garrison duty. You sit quietly for just 5 minutes and simply watch the chaos. You do not try to stop the thoughts, the worries, the insecurities from arising. That is the storm outside. Your job is to practice being the unmoved observer in the watchtower. You notice a thought, "Oh, I am worried about that meeting," and you consciously place it outside the wall. That is not me, that is just weather passing by. This practice builds the muscle of detachment, teaching you that you are not your turbulent thoughts, you are the space that contains them. The second brick is journaling, specifically the Stoic practice of the evening review. At the end of the day, you withdraw into your citadel to take stock. You write down what happened, not as a dramatic story, but as a commander reviewing a report. What events today were outside my control? What were my judgments about them? Did I act with virtue, or did I let the noise outside influence my actions? This is not self-criticism, it is strategic analysis. It clarifies your thoughts, turning the fog of the day's emotions into clear lessons that strengthen the walls for tomorrow. The third practice is the conscious withdrawal in the moment of overwhelm. When you feel that surge of social anxiety at a party or the panic before a big decision, you do not have to fight it. You simply step back mentally. You picture it, the loud room, the critical faces, the pressure that is all outside, a painting on the wall of your fortress. Inside, it is quiet. You are sitting at a simple table with your values laid out before you: courage, wisdom, justice. You ask your inner counsel, what is the wise action here? The answer that comes from that quiet center is your certainty. It may be to stay and engage with kindness, or it may be to gracefully excuse yourself. But the decision comes from a place of calm sovereignty, not reactive fear. Visualize this fortress clearly. Outside, lightning cracks, wind howls, and shadowy figures shout insults and dire predictions. But inside the high, sturdy walls, there is a sunlit courtyard. A gentle breeze rustles the leaves of a single tree. You are there, perfectly safe, perfectly still. The storm is real, but it cannot reach you unless you open the gate and invite it in for tea. Your soul is that courtyard. Every time you choose logic over panic, virtue over pettiness, or quiet reflection over frantic reaction, you are adding another stone to the wall. You are making your retreat quieter, more untroubled, and more permanently yours. That inner citadel is most vulnerable at its gates, where the words of others try to breach the walls. We have a deep, primal fear of what people might be saying about us when we are not in the room. It can feel like a phantom haunting our confidence, a whisper we can never quite hear but are certain is condemning us. Epictetus, with a brilliant flash of dark humor, hands us the perfect shield and weapon combined. He said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" Let us unpack the sheer genius of this. Someone runs up to you, eager to deliver the bad news, perhaps hoping to see you flinch or to bond over shared disapproval. They say, "Just so you know, Alex was criticizing your presentation, saying it was disorganized and lacked data." The insecure, automatic response is to launch into a frantic defense. "Oh, well, the data was there on slide 7, and I was told to keep it brief, and actually, if you look at the broader context, you are scrambling, justifying, trying to correct the record in the court of public opinion. You are handing over the gavel to someone else." Epictetus offers a response that completely disarms the entire game. You simply smile or nod thoughtfully and say, "Is that all?" He must not know about my chronic lateness, my terrible singing voice in the shower, or my habit of forgetting names. He was working with incomplete information. The power of this is threefold. First, it demonstrates profound self-awareness. You are not claiming perfection. You are openly admitting you have other, perhaps even worse, faults. This is disarming because it takes the ammunition away. The critic cannot expose what you have already acknowledged. Second, it injects humor, which immediately deflates the tension and seriousness of the attack. You are not treating the criticism as a mortal wound, but as a minor, almost amusing footnote. Third, and most importantly, it reasserts your own sovereignty over your self-image. Your certainty about who you are does not come from the absence of flaws, but from your ongoing project of managing them. You are a work in progress, and one person's snapshot opinion does not change the blueprint you are following. This shifts the entire foundation of social insecurity. The old, shaky foundation is the desperate need for everyone to like a perfect version of you that does not exist. The new, solid foundation is the calm acknowledgement that you, like every human, are a mixed bag of strengths and weaknesses. You are on a path of improvement, but you are under no illusion that you are finished. Therefore, a single piece of criticism is not a verdict on your entire being. It is just a random data point, and possibly an inaccurate one at that. The critic has merely stumbled upon one weed in a vast garden you are tending. You are the gardener. You know about the other weeds, the dry patches, the flowers yet to bloom. Their comment does not surprise or devastate you. It merely confirms what you already knew, that the garden is not perfect. Your certainty comes from your hands in the soil, from the daily work, not from the passerby's casual remark about a single leaf. This does not mean you ignore all feedback. A good gardener listens when someone points out a specific pest they might have missed, but they do not abandon the entire garden because one visitor says a rose is not red enough. You can take the useful kernel from the criticism, the disorganized presentation, and decide if there is a technical skill to improve, all while holding the secure knowledge that this one flaw does not define your entire worth or capability. You are not a statue to be judged. You are a living, evolving project, and the project manager, the only one whose opinion on the timeline and priorities truly matters, is you. That garden you are tending grows under a relentless, non-renewable sun. Seneca cuts to the heart of our most common regret with a startling promise: life is long if you know how to use it. On the surface, this seems to contradict our daily reality, the feeling that time is a speeding train, that years vanish, that we are running out of it. But Seneca is pointing to a profound psychological truth. Insecurity is a thief of time, and a masterful one. It convinces you to spend your most precious currency, the irreplaceable moments of your life, on activities that yield nothing of value. It trades hours for hesitation, days for doubt, weeks for seeking the approval of people whose opinions will not matter in a year. That is how life feels short, because you are spending it on a phantom currency, on mental rehearsals for conversations that never happen, on scrolling through curated lives that are not your own, on ruminating over minor slights that will be forgotten by next month. The Stoics viewed time as the only truly non-renewable resource. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose a job and find another. You can mend a broken relationship. But a minute spent is gone forever, subtracted from your finite total. Every moment lost to the fog of insecurity is a moment stolen from the active, virtuous life you are meant to be living. Certainty, then, is reclaimed through the purposeful use of time. It replaces the haunting, open-ended question, "Am I good enough?" with a concrete, actionable statement, "I will use this next hour well." The former question spirals inward, consuming time with no answer. The latter statement propels you forward, creating value with every passing minute. Conduct a simple, sobering audit. For one day, just notice how many minutes are consumed by the mental chatter of insecurity, the rehashing of a conversation, the anxiety about an upcoming event, the comparison to a colleague's success, the indecision born from fear of choosing wrong. Do not judge it, just tally it. You might be shocked at the sheer volume of your life that is currently being taxed by this internal noise. Now, Seneca's imperative: redirect that energy. The very mental fuel you are burning on worry is the same fuel needed for creation, for connection, for growth. Take the 30 minutes you might have spent nervously preparing for a difficult chat by imagining every negative outcome, and instead spend 10 minutes outlining your key points with clarity, and then use the remaining 20 to read something that expands your mind or to take a walk that clears it. The difficult chat will happen, but you will arrive not drained by hours of psychic drama, but refreshed and focused. The uncertainty of your social standing is replaced by the certainty that you used your preparation time wisely. The anxiety about your future is replaced by the certainty that you spent today learning a new skill. This is the ultimate power move against insecurity. It refuses to engage with its abstract fears on their terms. Instead, it engages with the one thing you can always control in the present: your chosen action. When you feel that old, familiar pull into the vortex of overthinking, you have a new Stoic reflex. You look at the clock, you acknowledge the moment, and you ask, what is the most virtuous use of this specific, irreplaceable slice of my life? Sometimes the answer will be rest, which is purposeful. Sometimes it will be helping a friend. Sometimes it will be diligent work on a single task. The key is that the decision comes from a place of intentional choice, not from a place of fleeing discomfort. Your life becomes long not because you have more days, but because you fill each day with more life, with more conscious engagement. The long life Seneca promises is a deep life, a wide life, measured not in years but in fully inhabited moments. You stop paying the insecurity tax and you start investing in your own sovereignty, minute by deliberate minute. The ultimate alchemy for turning life's randomness into purposeful certainty has a name: amor fati, the love of one's fate. Marcus Aurelius captured its essence with a stunning image. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. This is not mere acceptance, not a stoic gritting of the teeth. This is an active, passionate embrace. The fire does not judge what is tossed into it: a precious log, a pile of trash, a bucket of water. It consumes it all and transforms it into the same brilliant heat and light. Amor fati asks you to become that fire. Your life will throw everything at you: unexpected promotions and sudden losses, beautiful connections and painful betrayals, lucky breaks and terrible luck. The insecure mind sorts these into two piles: good things to cling to and bad things to resent. It asks the helpless question, why is this happening to me? The mind practicing amor fati has only one pile: fuel. It meets each event with a defiant, energized "try me." The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, centuries later, would adopt this exact Stoic idea as his personal formula for human greatness. He wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. Not merely bear what is necessary, but love it." This is the psychological leap from endurance to empowerment. Imagine a personal story, a classic bad break. You work for years in a stable industry, and out of the blue, your entire department is outsourced. You are laid off. The insecure narrative is a catastrophe, a personal failure, a reason to hide. The amor fati narrative begins with the raw, painful fact, I have lost my job. But then it asks the transformative question, how can I love this, not the loss itself, but the fate it has handed me? What opportunity is now forced upon me that my comfortable routine would never have allowed? Perhaps this shove out the door is the only thing that could have made you finally pursue the freelance career you always dreamed about. Perhaps it forces you to move to a new city where you meet your future partner. Perhaps it humbles you into taking an entry-level role in a different field that 5 years later becomes your true calling. The layoff is the trash thrown into your fire. Amor fati is the decision to burn it so brightly that it lights your way to a path you never would have seen in the old, comfortable dimness. This mindset transforms certainty from a hope for smooth sailing into a guarantee of purposeful navigation, no matter the weather. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, waiting for good things to happen so you can feel secure. You are the active force, the fire, knowing with absolute certainty that whatever comes, you have the capacity to metabolize it into energy, into light, into forward motion. The randomness of life ceases to be a source of anxiety and becomes a source of raw material. Your fate is not something that happens to you, it is something you forge, one loving embrace at a time. That fire transforms everything, even your most ordinary daily life, into a stage for greatness. Epictetus offers a masterclass in finding certainty, not by changing your role, but by perfecting your performance within it. He said, "Remember, you are an actor in a play, and the playwright chooses the role. Your business is to play the role assigned to you well. At first, this might sound limiting, even fatalistic. But this is a profound reframe for the insecurity born of comparison. The playwright is not a cruel tyrant, but a metaphor for life itself, for the circumstances you are born into, the era, your family, your innate talents, and the unexpected events that shape your path. You did not choose this specific role. You are cast as a parent, a teacher, a cashier, a student, a caregiver, an artist, or a manager. Insecurity screams that you should have been cast in a different, more glamorous part. It tells you to look at the lead actor with envy, to resent your lines, to wish for a different costume. This constant comparison is a recipe for misery, because there will always be someone with a seemingly better role, more applause, a grander entrance. The Stoic finds certainty by turning their gaze completely inward to the one thing they command, the quality of their own performance. Your business is not to rewrite the script, but to deliver your lines with such conviction, such integrity, and such excellence that the play itself is elevated because you are in it. Think of a classic ensemble drama. The insecure actor playing a supporting role mopes in the wings, bitter that they are not the star. Their performance is half-hearted, their timing off, and they drain energy from the entire production. The Stoic actor, given that same supporting role, studies it deeply. They find the nuance in every line, the humanity in the character's motivations. They hit their marks with precision, they support the other actors flawlessly, and in doing so, they become indispensable. The audience may not give them a standing ovation, but the director knows the play would collapse without them. That is the shift. Your certainty is no longer tied to the spotlight. It is forged in the quiet discipline of the rehearsal, in the unwavering commitment to your craft, whatever that craft may be. Are you a parent? That is your role right now. Playing it well does not mean being perfect. It means showing up with patience when you are tired, with presence when you are distracted, with love even when you are frustrated. Your stage is the chaotic kitchen, the bedtime routine, the difficult conversation about friendship. Your excellence is measured in those small, consistent acts of care. Are you an employee in a job you feel is beneath you? The insecure person does the minimum, radiating resentment, waiting for a better role to appear. The Stoic sees the job as their current stage. They play the part of a diligent, helpful, proactive team member. They master the tasks, they support their colleagues, they bring order and goodwill to their corner of the operation. This excellence is not for the manager's praise, it is for their own soul. It is the practice of virtue in real time. And this practice, this commitment to playing your current role well, has a mysterious way of attracting new scripts, better stages. Because the world notices excellence wherever it is performed, the director is always watching. The playwright may very well be writing a new scene, a new act, with an expanded role for the actor who proved they could handle the responsibility, who brought honor to the smallest part. But even if that never happens, the certainty remains. You can look at yourself in the mirror and know, without a shadow of a doubt, that you are not waiting for life to begin. You are living it fully, right here in this role, with excellence as your standard. The applause of the crowd is fickle and outside your control. The quiet satisfaction of a performance well given, that is a reward you can bank forever. It turns the mundane into the meaningful and the ordinary into a personal masterpiece. A masterpiece is not defined by the size of the canvas, but by the skill of the artist using the paints they have. Seneca points us toward this artistic mastery of life with a declaration that cuts against our entire culture of striving. A wise person is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not. The word content is the key, and we must rescue it from misunderstanding. This is not complacency, not a lazy surrender to mediocrity. It is the opposite. It is a deep-seated lack of craving, a quiet fire that burns on its own fuel, needing no external kindling. Insecurity is at its core a form of craving. It is the craving for a different past, for a more certain future, for the validation of a particular person, for the status of a different social circle. It is a state of perpetual wanting, and that wanting creates a constant sense of lack, of not being enough yet. The certainty Seneca describes is the profound peace that arrives when you stop craving and start creating with what is already in your hands. It is the shift from wishing for a bigger studio to making breathtaking art in the room you occupy right now. Modern hustle culture sells a dangerous lie. It tells you that your certainty, your worth, is always one more achievement away, one more follower, one more sale, one more certification. It manufactures insecurity by design because a content customer stops buying the next self-improvement product. It keeps you running on a treadmill, forever glancing at the faster runner next to you, breathless with the anxiety of not being ahead. The Stoic sage steps off that treadmill entirely. Their certainty is not built on a mountain of acquisitions, but on the solid ground of sufficiency. They find it not in having everything, but in wanting nothing more than what virtue and reason can provide in this present moment. Imagine two chefs. The first has a modest kitchen, a few fresh vegetables, some simple spices. The insecure chef looks at this and feels poor, resentful, dreaming of a professional gas range and truffles. Their cooking is hesitant, disappointed, a reflection of their craving. The second chef, the Stoic chef, looks at the same ingredients. They feel no craving for what is not there. Instead, they feel a surge of creative engagement. They see the vibrant color of the pepper, the earthy scent of the onion, the potential in the humble potato. Their certainty comes from their skill, their focus, their ability to transform these present resources into a nourishing, beautiful meal. The meal may be simple, but it is made with excellence and joy. Your life is that kitchen. Your lot right now, with its specific constraints and gifts, is your set of ingredients. Contentment is not saying this is all there will ever be. It is saying this is what I have to work with today, and I will engage with it fully, virtuously, and without the draining distraction of wishing for another chef's pantry. The certainty is in your hands, your attention, your decision to make something of meaning from the raw material of this single day. Wanting nothing more than what you have does not mean you stop growing. It means your growth is no longer driven by a sense of lack, but by a sense of purpose. You pursue the next skill, not because you are inadequate without it, but because the pursuit itself is a virtuous expression of your human potential. Your serenity is no longer held hostage by the next milestone. You are already here, already whole, already capable. And from that unshakable platform of presence, your actions become not desperate grasps for security, but generous offerings of your best self. Your morning alarm is a starting pistol for the day's anxieties, but it can also be the first brick in your fortress. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who faced endless political intrigue and military pressure, left us a precise mental drill for this exact moment. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." He does not stop with that grim forecast. He continues, "I can neither be harmed by any of them, for no one can fix on me what is ugly, nor can I be angry with my kinsman or hate him." This is not cynical pessimism. This is a psychological vaccine administered daily before you even get out of bed. You are not predicting the future to dread it. You are inoculating yourself against the shock and personal offense that fuel insecurity. By expecting human nature in its less glorious forms, you disarm it. The meddling colleague, the surly cashier, the ungrateful friend, these are not personal attacks on your peace. They are simply people acting out their own internal struggles, their own ignorance of what is good. Your morning declaration prepares you to meet them not with surprise and hurt, but with calm understanding. The second part of the mantra is the real armor, for no one can fix on me what is ugly. Their behavior is their own. Your character, your virtue, your inner citadel belongs solely to you. An insult only lands if you accept it as true. A rude gesture only wounds if you interpret it as a verdict on your worth. By stating this truth each morning, you reaffirm the boundaries of yourself. You are not a blank billboard for others to graffiti. You are a curated gallery and you hold the keys. The final piece, nor can I be angry with my kinsman or hate him, is the ultimate act of self-preservation. Anger and hate are not punishments you inflict on the other person. They are toxins you brew and drink yourself. To resent someone for being arrogant is like resenting a fire for being hot. It is their nature acting out. Your morning ritual severs the automatic link between their action and your destructive reaction. You see the behavior, you label it for what it is, and you consciously choose a different, virtuous path. So how do you craft your own version of this practice? It is simple. Before you check your phone, before the mental to-do list floods in, take 60 seconds. Speak these truths to yourself, either silently or aloud. You can use Marcus Aurelius's exact words, or you can adapt them to your world. You might say, "Today I will encounter frustration and negativity." This is not a sign the day is ruined. It is part of the human experience. My peace does not depend on their mood. My character is my own. I choose to meet ignorance with wisdom and arrogance with quiet strength. This is not about lowering your expectations of humanity, but about raising your preparedness for reality. You are the general reviewing the map before the battle, noting where the terrain is difficult. You are not hoping for an easy path. You are building the resilience to travel any path well. When you start your day with this proactive certainty, you flip the script on insecurity. You are no longer a passive recipient of whatever the world throws at you, hoping it will be kind. You are an active participant, mentally fortified, ready to engage with the day on your own terms. The first difficult email, the first snippy comment does not catch you off guard. You saw it coming, you prepared for it, and because you prepared, you can meet it not with a flinch of insecurity, but with the steady gaze of someone who knows that their worth was never on the table to begin with. The morning ritual builds a fortress, but the true battle happens in the silent spaces between your thoughts. Epictetus gives us the map for that inner terrain. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This simple sentence contains the entire operating system of Stoic certainty, a process they call the discipline of ascent. Your mind is constantly bombarded with impressions, raw data from the world. A friend walks by without saying hello. Your boss emails just the word, "See me." You see a photo where you look awkward. Each of these events is neutral until your mind rushes in with an interpretation, a story. That story is the impression. Insecurity is the habit of giving automatic, unquestioning assent to the most painful and personal story available. They ignored me, therefore I am worthless. That two-word email means I am in serious trouble. That photo proves I am not attractive. The discipline is learning to insert a pause, a moment of sacred space between the arrival of that impression and your agreement with it. In that pause, your power lives. Certainty is not the absence of negative impressions. Everyone gets them. Certainty is the trained reflex to interrogate the impression before you let it move in and start dictating your emotions. You become a gatekeeper for your own mind. The ancient Stoics were in essence the first cognitive behavioral therapists. They understood that our emotions are not direct responses to events, but to our beliefs about those events. Change the belief and you change the emotional weather instantly. So how do you train this reflex? Let us walk through a worksheet-style example, a mental drill you can use anytime. First, identify the activating event, just the facts. The event is, my friend walked past me in the cafe without acknowledging me. Second, record the automatic impression, the story your mind instantly wants to believe. My impression is, she is deliberately ignoring me because she is angry with me or does not like me anymore. This makes me feel anxious, hurt, and insecure. Third, insert the pause. This is the discipline. Now you cross-examine that impression like a lawyer in the court of your own peace. You ask the Stoic questions. Is this impression 100% true? What is the evidence? The only evidence is she did not make eye contact or speak. Could there be another explanation? Perhaps she was lost in thought, worried about her own problem, or simply did not see me in the crowd. Is this impression helpful? Does believing she is deliberately snubbing me improve my life or guide me to a virtuous action? No, it only creates suffering and distance. What is a more rational, more likely belief? A more rational belief is, I do not know why she did not acknowledge me. It likely has nothing to do with me. I can choose to give her the benefit of the doubt. Fourth, and this is crucial, you formulate a new, deliberate response based on that rational belief. Instead of spiraling into insecurity, you might decide to send a warm text later saying, "Thought I saw you at the cafe earlier. Hope you are having a good day." This response comes from a place of security and connection, not fear. You have not been controlled by the impression, you have mastered it. Every time you practice this pause, you are strengthening a neural pathway of sovereignty. The initial sting of the impression may still come, that is human, but you are no longer its prisoner. You observe it, you question it, and you choose your assent wisely. This discipline turns the chaos of external events into a structured internal dialogue where you, and only you, hold the gavel. The world will keep throwing its data at you. Your certainty grows from knowing you have a system to process it, a system that filters out the poison of false stories and lets in only what is true, what is useful, what serves the person you are deciding to become. Your mind's courtroom has just adjourned, leaving you with a powerful gavel in hand. Yet even with that tool, a low hum of anxiety can persist, a background noise of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. This is where Seneca, with the precision of a surgeon, makes his final incisions into the anatomy of fear. He offers two blades for the same tumor. First, there are more things likely to frighten us than there are to crush us. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Then a second, similar cut. We are often more frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. The repetition is not an accident. It is a hammer driving home the most counterintuitive truth about our anxieties. The monster you are running from is almost always a shadow cast by your own mind and blown up to terrifying proportions. The actual creature, when you finally turn and face it, is often smaller, simpler, and far more manageable. Think of your anxiety as a special effects studio. It takes a simple, often unlikely event and renders it in full sensory horror, complete with catastrophic dialogue and a tragic soundtrack. You are not just worried about a presentation, you are living the full humiliation of your mind going blank in front of a silent, scornful crowd. You are not just concerned about finances, you are evicted, destitute, and alone. The suffering in that theater of your mind is visceral and real. Your heart pounds, your stomach clenches, you lose sleep. But the ticket you bought is for a movie that has not been filmed yet and may never be. You are paying the emotional price for a premiere that exists only on the screen behind your eyes. Seneca's point is statistical and deeply reassuring. For every one thing that can genuinely crush you, there are 100, 1,000 things that can only frighten you. The ratio is overwhelmingly in your favor. Yet we live as if it is the opposite, dedicating immense energy to fleeing shadows while the solid ground beneath our feet goes ignored. Let us make this practical right now. If you are listening, I want you to pause for just a moment. Think of one current worry, a specific fear that has been gnawing at you. It might be about your job, a relationship, your health, a financial decision. Now, take that fear and write it down in one clear sentence. Actually write it or type it or speak it aloud. Give it a name. For example, my fear is that I will fail this project and be fired. Or my fear is that my partner is losing interest in me. Hold that sentence in your mind. Now we are going to subject it to a Stoic audit, a reality check that shrinks the monster down to its actual size. First, rate the likelihood. On a scale of 0 to 100%, what is the actual, objective probability of this feared event coming true? Be brutally honest, not with your anxious self, but with the facts. Is it a 50% chance, a 20% chance, or a 2% chance? Your anxiety wants to scream 100%. Your logic, when consulted, often gives a much lower number. The presentation might go poorly, but will you actually be fired for one mediocre presentation? Unlikely. Your partner might be distant, but does that automatically mean they are planning to leave? Probably not. Just naming that lower percentage begins to drain the power from the fear. Second, rate the impact. If the worst did happen on a scale of 1 to 10, how survivable would it be? 10 is a world-ending catastrophe. 1 is a minor inconvenience. Again, be factual. Losing a specific job might be an 8 on the impact scale, painful and disruptive. But is it a 10? Is it truly unsurvivable? You have skills, you have a network, you have resilience you have used before. You would find another way. A romantic breakup might feel like a 10 in the moment of fear, but has your life ended from heartbreak before you recovered? You grew. The impact, while real and painful, is rarely a permanent annihilation. It is a difficult season, not the end of your story. Now, look at the two numbers you have assigned, the likelihood and the impact. Multiply them together in your mind. The product is almost always a fraction of the overwhelming dread you started with. The anxiety was a fog bank, seeming to fill the entire horizon. This audit is a strong wind, blowing it apart to reveal the actual landscape, which usually contains a single, specific challenge you can prepare for, not a legion of unnamed horrors. The certainty Seneca gives you is the certainty of proportion. It is knowing that your mind is a brilliant special effects artist, and you have the power to walk out of its screening room into the daylight of what is actually true. Your fear of public speaking is not a fear of the speech itself, which is just 20 minutes of talking. It is a fear of the imagined humiliation, the story you have attached to those 20 minutes. Strip away the story, and you are left with a task, a skill to practice. The anxiety was the true obstacle, far larger than the event it pretended to protect you from. When you confront the fear logically, you are not being naive. You are being courageous enough to trade a terrifying phantom for a simple, manageable problem. And a problem, unlike a phantom, can be solved. That logical audit shrinks your fear to its true size, revealing a startling truth. The vast majority of your insecurity is a solitary echo, a story you tell yourself in a room with no one else in it. It is a deeply self-absorbed state. Marcus Aurelius offers the perfect antidote to this inward spiral, a principle that reconnects you to something far larger and more stable than your own fluctuating self-image. He wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." Insecurity asks the small, fragile question, do I belong here? Am I good enough? Do they like me? It traps you in a hall of mirrors where every reflection is a distorted version of yourself, judged and found wanting. The Stoic emperor points you toward the exit. Stop staring at the mirror, turn around and look at the hive. Your certainty is not found in the approval of other bees, but in the tangible, undeniable act of contributing to the health of the whole colony. Your family is a hive, your local community is a hive, your team at work, your circle of friends, even the broader network of people who share your interests, these are all hives. The moment you shift your focus from the anxious, self-referential loop of I like to the outward-focused, action-oriented question of how can I be useful, everything changes. Your value is no longer a mysterious quality for others to appraise. It becomes a concrete output that you can measure and feel. You are no longer waiting to be chosen, you are actively choosing to serve. Think of the most confident, grounded people you know. They are rarely the ones posturing for status or fishing for compliments. They are the ones who are busy. They are the reliable friend who shows up with soup when you are sick. They are the colleague who quietly mentors the new hire. They are the neighbor who organizes the block cleanup. Their certainty does not come from a flawless self-esteem. It comes from the repeated physical evidence that they are a net positive in the world. They know they are useful because they can see the results of their usefulness. A bee does not wonder if the hive approves of its flight pattern. It knows its purpose is to gather nectar and pollinate flowers. The certainty is built into the action itself. So how do you practice this today, right now, in the middle of your own uncertainty? You start with a small, concrete act of service for your hive. It does not need to be grand. In fact, starting small is the key. The goal is not to save the world in an afternoon, but to prove to your own nervous system that you have something of value to give. At work, instead of worrying if your ideas are smart enough, spend 10 minutes helping a coworker untangle a technical problem they are stuck on. In your family, instead of feeling insecure about your contributions, do the dishes without being asked or listen to a family member's story without glancing at your phone. In your community, it could be as simple as carrying a neighbor's groceries or volunteering an hour at a local shelter. The act itself is almost secondary. The magic is in the mental pivot. For those few minutes, your attention is completely off yourself and placed squarely on the needs of another. You are solving a problem, easing a burden, creating a moment of connection. In that focused state, there is no room for the inner critic. The critic needs your full attention to survive. When you give your attention to service, the critic falls silent. And when you complete the act, you receive immediate, non-verbal feedback. You see the gratitude, you feel the satisfaction of a task completed. You witness the small improvement you made in your corner of the hive. This feedback is real, it is tangible, it is not subject to interpretation or gossip. It is a direct deposit into your account of certainty. You did that. You were useful. The more you make these deposits, the richer your sense of self becomes. Your identity begins to shift from someone who needs to be validated to someone who is capable of creating value. The old question, do they like me, starts to sound hollow and irrelevant next to the new, empowering reality, I helped. Your place in the hive is not given, it is built, one act of contribution at a time. And a bee that is busy nourishing its colony has no time to wonder if it is flying correctly. It is too focused on the flowers, on the pollen, on the sweet work of building something that lasts beyond its own fleeting doubts. That hive you nourish thrives on a foundation of resilience, built not in comfort but in small, deliberate acts of defiance. The Stoic teacher Epictetus prescribed a strange but potent medicine for the soul. Practice sometimes a way of living like a person who is sick, so that you may live better when you are well. This is the ancient principle of voluntary discomfort, a training regimen for the mind that inoculates you against the deepest fears insecurity whispers. Insecurity is at its core a terror of loss. It fears the loss of comfort, status, approval, or possessions. It makes you cling to your current conditions, terrified that any change, any hardship will shatter you. Voluntary discomfort is the psychological judo move that neutralizes this fear. By willingly and temporarily choosing a minor hardship, you prove to your own nervous system that you are not fragile. You demonstrate in a controlled experiment that you can handle deprivation and emerge not only unscathed but stronger. This is not masochism. It is not about punishing yourself or glorifying suffering. It is a vaccine. A vaccine contains a tiny, weakened piece of the virus so your immune system can learn to recognize and defeat it without ever facing the full-blown disease. Voluntary discomfort is a tiny, controlled dose of life's inevitable hardships administered by you on your terms, so that when real adversity strikes unexpectedly, your inner defenses are already prepared and unafraid. So what does this look like in a modern life? It is choosing a cold shower for the final minute of your morning routine. The instinct is to recoil, to seek the warm comfort. But for that 1 minute, you stand under the cold water and you breathe through it. You are not being tortured by the world, you are in command of the experience. You are teaching your body and mind that discomfort is a sensation, not an emergency. It is skipping a meal occasionally, not out of neglect but as a conscious practice. You feel the hunger pangs and you observe them with curiosity instead of panic. You learn that hunger is a temporary signal, not a crisis. It is wearing simple, functional clothes instead of always opting for the most impressive outfit. You walk through your day knowing your confidence is not woven into the fabric of your shirt, but is something you carry within. You might choose to walk instead of drive, to take the stairs, to sleep on a firmer surface for a night, to fast from social media or entertainment for a weekend. The specific practice matters less than the underlying principle. You are voluntarily touching the very things insecurity tells you to avoid at all costs. You are looking the monster of deprivation in the eye and saying, "I see you. You are not that scary." The certainty this builds is profound and deeply somatic. It moves from an intellectual idea, "I am resilient," to a cellular knowing, "I have felt hardship and I remained steady." When a real-world challenge arrives, a financial pinch, a period of intense work, a rejection, your subconscious does not scream, "This is the end." Instead, it accesses the memory of those cold showers, those skipped meals, those simple choices. It remembers, "Oh, we have done hard things before by choice. We can do this hard thing now by necessity." The resilience is no longer theoretical, it is a muscle you have felt flex and grow. Your security becomes untethered from perfect external conditions. You no longer need everything to be easy, warm, and abundant to feel okay. You carry your own warmth, your own sufficiency with you. This practice quietly dismantles the entitlement that fuels so much insecurity. The entitled mind believes, "I deserve constant comfort, and any interruption of that is a personal injustice." The trained Stoic mind understands comfort is a gift, not a guarantee. "I will enjoy it when it is here, but I do not depend on it for my peace." By occasionally setting comfort aside, you break its hypnotic spell over you. You become the author of your own toughness, writing the story one deliberate, uncomfortable choice at a time. When life inevitably hands you a chapter of difficulty, you will not be reading it for the first time. You will have already practiced the vocabulary of resilience in the safe pages of your own devising. That deliberate practice of resilience plants you firmly in the only place certainty can ever exist. The final quote from Seneca brings our entire exploration to its quiet, powerful conclusion. He writes, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, but to rest satisfied with what we have. This is the master key that locks all the others into place." Every insecurity we have ever felt is a form of anxious dependence upon a future that does not yet exist. Will I be successful? Will I be loved? Will I be safe? Will I be enough? These questions pull you out of your life into a phantom realm of what if, where your mind spins stories you cannot control and pays for them with your present peace. Insecurity is a mortgage on a house you have not even built, using the currency of your current joy as collateral. Seneca's definition of happiness is the act of foreclosing on that terrible deal. It is to enjoy the present, not the past you wish you could change, not the future you desperately hope for, but the raw, immediate reality of this breath, this room, this task at hand. The reward is not waiting for you at the finish line. The reward is the texture of your stride, the rhythm of your breath, the focused clarity in your mind as you move. The journey of living virtuously right now is the entire point. Success is not a distant city on a map. Success is the quality of your navigation through this very mile. Think of an artist absorbed in painting. The insecure artist is fixated on the future reception of the piece, the reviews, the price, the legacy. Their brushstrokes are hesitant, seeking approval from a gallery that is not yet there. Their anxiety stains the canvas. The Stoic artist, the certain artist, is lost in the present alchemy of color and form. The reward is in the feeling of the brush against the canvas, the solving of a visual problem, the pure expression of an idea taking shape under their hands. The finished painting is a byproduct. The real masterpiece was the state of flow experienced during its creation. Your life is that canvas. The future exhibition is an external, outside your control. The certain stroke of your brush today, that is your domain. This is how you finally replace insecurity with certainty. You stop asking the future for permission to be happy now. You realize certainty is not a feeling you find someday when all conditions are perfect. Certainty is an action you do. It is the action of fully inhabiting your present effort. It is showing up to your work and engaging with it deeply, not for the promotion it might bring, but for the integrity of the work itself. It is listening to your partner with full attention, not to secure their future loyalty, but because connection in this moment is its own reward. It is taking care of your health today, not just to live longer, but to feel the vitality of this single day. When your reward is the quality of your present action, you become unstoppable. Failure and rejection lose their catastrophic power because they are merely data about outcomes which are future-focused. They cannot touch the intrinsic value of the effort you gave, which existed completely in the present and which you already fully experienced. You enjoyed the climb for the challenge in your muscles and the view from each ledge. Whether you summit or not is whether. The climb itself was the truth. So rest satisfied with what you have. You have this breath, you have this moment, you have the capacity for a virtuous action right here. That is not a small thing. That is everything. Insecurity whispers that you need more to begin. Certainty knows you already have everything required to live well, starting now. The 25 quotes are not just words, they are 25 tools, 25 levers for the mind. Use one today. Draw the line between what is yours and what is not. Interrogate a painful impression. Wish for things to be as they are. Perform a small act of service. Take a cold shower for one day. Let the journey be the only destination. And in that focused, present action, you will feel the old, shaky ground solidify beneath you. Not because the world changed, but because you finally decided to stand where you have always been, right here, fully alive in the only time you ever truly possess. The brushstrokes of your life are waiting for your hand, but a gallery of tools is only as powerful as the one you pick up first. The path from understanding to unshakable certainty is paved with practice, not just philosophy. So let us build your personal Stoic toolkit, a set of exercises to turn these 25 quotes from inspiring ideas into your automatic mental reflexes. This is not about memorizing all of them at once. That would be like trying to learn every instrument in an orchestra simultaneously. Mastery begins with a single, familiar melody. Start by listening to your own reactions. Over the next few days, simply notice. When that familiar knot of insecurity tightens in your chest, pause for just a second and ask, what ancient fear is this? Is it the fear of other people's opinions, the terror of future catastrophe, the ache of comparison? Then look back at the landscape of quotes we have walked through. Which one or two seem to speak directly to that specific ache? Do not overthink it. Your gut will point you to the medicine you're ready to take. Maybe it is Marcus Aurelius reminding you that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Perhaps it is Epictetus commanding you to identify and separate matters, or it could be Seneca's startling call to love your fate. Choose 3 to 5 that resonate like a clear bell in your mind. Write each one in full on a separate note card or in the Notes app on your phone. This is your starter deck. Now, place these cards where your eyes will fall on them during the natural transitions of your day. One on your bathroom mirror where you prepare your face for the world. Another as the lock screen on your phone, the device you likely check first and last. A third on your desk or workstation. You are not just placing paper, you are planting signposts in the geography of your daily life, reminders of a different path when you feel lost. Do not just glance at them, read them aloud slowly, once in the morning and once at night. Let the words vibrate in your own voice. This daily recitation is not rote memorization, it is neural pathway construction. You are teaching your brain a new language of resilience, one phrase at a time. The most powerful tool in your kit, however, is a simple notebook. The Stoics called this the evening review, and it is your daily debrief from the battlefield of your mind. Each night before sleep, give yourself just 10 minutes. Open your journal and ask 3 deliberate questions. First, what specific moment today triggered a flare of insecurity? Be brutally factual, not dramatic. Was it the tense silence after I offered my idea in the meeting? Was it seeing my former classmate's promotion announcement online? Was it my partner's distracted tone when I was telling a story? Name the trigger. Second, which quote from my deck applies to this trigger? Pull out your note cards. Look at them. Does the dichotomy of control apply here? Was I suffering more in imagination than in reality? Was I craving what I do not have instead of using what I do? Identify the precise Stoic lever for this specific situation. Third, and this is where the magic happens, how will I apply this quote tomorrow? This is not vague resolution, it is tactical planning. If my trigger was the meeting silence and my quote is about controlling my judgments, my plan for tomorrow might be, I will focus only on presenting my next idea with clarity, and I will interpret silence as thoughtfulness, not rejection. If my trigger was social media comparison and my quote is about contentment, my plan might be, I will spend my first 30 minutes tomorrow working on my own creative project before I ever open that app. This nightly practice does 2 profound things. It trains you to see your insecurities as specific, solvable puzzles rather than a vague, overwhelming fog. And it proactively scripts your response for the next round, turning you from a reactive victim of your emotions into the author of your next chapter. For a truly transformative experience, launch a 7-day certainty challenge. Pick one quote to be your filter for an entire week. The dichotomy of control is a perfect candidate. For 7 days, every single time an anxious or insecure thought arises, you run it through that filter. The thought, my presentation might bomb, immediately gets the question, is the final reaction of the audience under my control? No, what is under my control? My preparation, my rehearsal, my calm breathing before I begin. Label it external and release it. The thought, they might not like me, gets the same treatment. Is their liking me under my control? No. Is acting with kindness and integrity under my control? Yes. Label, external, release. Carry a small tally counter or use a notes app to literally click each time you successfully apply the filter. Do not judge the number, just observe it. By day 3 or 4, something remarkable will happen. You will feel the pause insert itself before the anxiety fully forms. You will start to see the world naturally divided into those 2 categories, and your energy will begin to flow almost effortlessly toward the smaller, more powerful domain of your own actions. The filter becomes a habit. To make your progress visible, create a simple tracker. It can be a page in your journal with 7 columns, one for each day of the week. At the top, write your chosen challenge quote. Each day, note the primary insecurity you faced, which tool you used, and 1 sentence on the outcome. For example, day 1, trigger, fear of critical email response. Tool, dichotomy of control filter. Outcome, recognized I could only control my thoughtful reply, not their mood. Sent it and felt immediate relief. This tracker is not for self-criticism, it is for evidence. At the end of the week, you will have a tangible record, not of a perfect performance, but of a conscious practice. You will see the patterns, you will celebrate the clicks of your mental tally counter, and you will have proof in your own handwriting that you are not stuck. You are building. Your toolkit is not a theoretical concept in a philosophy book. It is a set of worn note cards, a journal with your honest scrawl, and a mind being gently, deliberately rewired. The certainty you seek is not a distant finish line you finally cross. It is the growing confidence in your hands as they learn, day by day, how to use the tools you have always owned. The worn note cards and scribbled journal pages are the blueprints for your inner citadel, a fortress no external storm can ever breach. We began with that universal tremor, the shaky feeling of insecurity that whispers you are not enough. From that fragile ground, we built stone by Stoic stone, using 25 timeless mental tools handed down through the centuries. We learned to draw the line of control, to interrogate our panicked impressions, to love our fate, and to find wealth in sufficiency. This was never about eliminating doubt or anxiety. Those are human weather patterns. True certainty is not the absence of the storm. It is the practiced, unshakable skill of knowing where to stand within it. It is the reflexive return of your focus to the one domain that is forever yours, your mind, your judgments, your very next action. When the old tremors return, and they will, you are no longer at their mercy. You have a toolkit, so here is your final living practice. Bookmark this moment. The next time you feel that familiar knot of uncertainty, revisit just one of these quotes. Let it be your anchor, read it aloud, let it reorient you to what is real, to what is yours to command. Your journey does not end here, it simply changes form from learning to living. I want to hear how you will begin. In the comments below, share which single Stoic quote resonated with you most deeply, and name one small, concrete action you will take this week to build your own inner citadel. Your story becomes part of the collective wisdom. If you found a path to greater calm here, subscribe for more practical philosophy. Together, we continue navigating modern life not with frantic hustle, but with ancient wisdom, turning each challenge into the very material for an unshakable course.